The restaurant went silent the moment Naomi heard her mother's name spoken in Korean by a man who was supposed to be dead. She stood at table 7 with a tray of soju bottles balanced on her palm, her entire body locked in place as Yoon Jae-hyuk, the infamous ghost of Gangnam, leaned back in his leather chair and laughed. He was speaking to his 4 associates, his voice dripping with contempt as he switched between Korean and English, describing in graphic detail how he'd handled the Nigerian problem 15 years ago, how he'd made sure that African woman who'd betrayed him never saw her daughter again. He was talking about her mother. Naomi's fingers tightened on the tray. The bottles clinked together, a soft crystalline sound that made one of Jae-hyuk's men glance her way. She kept her face carefully blank, her eyes downcast in the submissive posture expected of service staff in elite Korean establishments. But her mind was racing, cataloging every word, every detail. Her mother had died 3 months ago in a Lagos hospital, whispering secrets with her final breaths. Secrets about a Korean man who'd loved her once, then tried to kill her. Secrets about stolen diamonds and blood debts and a son who didn't know his father was a monster. Jae-hyuk continued in Korean, his voice taking on a mocking lilt. And now the mongrel daughter works in my restaurant. Like mother, like daughter, both good for serving, nothing more. She probably doesn't even understand what I'm saying. These foreign workers, they come here, take our jobs, pollute our bloodlines. Naomi set down the tray with precise control. The bottles didn't rattle. She pulled out her order pad, clicked her pen once, twice, and then looked directly into Yoon Jae-hyuk's eyes. When she spoke, her Korean was flawless, the Seoul dialect her mother had taught her as a child, each word enunciated with crystal clarity. She said, "Does your son know?" The temperature in the private dining room dropped 10 degrees. Jae-hyuk's face was drained of color. His hand, halfway to his whiskey glass, froze in midair. The 4 men at his table exchanged rapid glances, hands moving toward their jacket pockets. One of them stood up, chair scraping against marble. Naomi didn't move. She kept her eyes locked on Jae-hyuk, watching his expression cycle through shock, recognition, and finally, cold calculation. She could see him doing the math, connecting the dots. African woman. Daughter. I am fluent in Korean. Working in his restaurant. Who sent you? Jae-hyuk's voice was silk over razors. Nobody sent me, Naomi replied in Korean, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. I came here myself. To see the man who murdered my mother. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Then everything happened at once. The man who'd stood up pulled a gun from his jacket. Jae-hyuk raised one hand, stopping him with a gesture. The other 3 men were already moving, circling the table toward Naomi. She calculated her options in a split second. The door was 12 feet away, 2 men between her and the exit. Her Hapkido training would get her past 1 but not all 4, and even if she made it to the main dining room, Jae-hyuk owned half the police in Gangnam. She was trapped. Bring her to the private office, Jae-hyuk said quietly in Korean. No cameras there. Make it slow. I want to know everything she knows and everyone she's told. 2 men moved toward Naomi from opposite sides. She calculated her options. The door was 20 feet away, 3 men between her and freedom. Her Hapkido was good but not good enough for 4 trained killers, and even if she made it outside, this was Gangnam, Jae-hyuk's territory. The taller man reached for her arm. Then the private room door burst open with such force it cracked against the wall. Father, what the hell is going on? Naomi's heart stopped. Kang Si-woo stood in the doorway, photographer's camera still hanging around his neck, his hair disheveled from the wind, his eyes moving from his father to the armed men to Naomi, the man she'd been secretly dating for 2 months. The man who'd kissed her last night on the Hangang Bridge and promised her that Seoul's autumn was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. The man who'd cooked her beauty jjigae in his tiny apartment and laughed when she'd added too much gochugaru. The man who'd told her his father was a boring venture capitalist who traveled too much. The man whose father was ordering her torture. Si-woo, Jae-hyuk said carefully, switching to English. This doesn't concern you. Go back to your photography exhibit. But Si-woo wasn't looking at his father. He was staring at Naomi, at her defensive stance, at the men surrounding her, at the shattered glass and overturned chairs. His expression cycled through confusion, recognition, and finally something that looked like dawning horror. Naomi? His voice cracked on her name. What are you doing here? You said you worked at a cafe in Hongdae. I lied, Naomi said, her Korean faltering now, emotion bleeding through. I'm sorry. I had to find him. I had to know if the man who destroyed my mother was really your father. Si-woo looked at Jae-hyuk. What is she talking about? She's a liar and a blackmailer, Jae-hyuk said smoothly. She's been using you to get close to our family. I'm handling it, by having her killed? Si-woo's voice rose. That's your solution? That's what handling it means? You don't understand the situation, Jae-hyuk began. Then explain it. Si-woo shouted. Explain why the woman I've been falling in love with for 2 months is in your private dining room surrounded by your enforcers. Explain why she just spoke fluent Korean when she told me she barely knew basic phrases. Explain why she's talking about you destroying her mother. The silence that followed was suffocating. Jae-hyuk's face went carefully blank. How long have you been seeing her? 2 months, Si-woo said. Since the gallery opened in Itaewon. She was there with her grandmother. His eyes widened. Oh God. The Nigerian community you were just talking about eliminating. That's her family. You were listening? Jae-hyuk's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. I came to return your medication, Si-woo said, pulling a prescription bottle from his jacket pocket. Your assistant said you forgot it. I heard everything from the hallway. He looked at Naomi, betrayal and understanding warring in his eyes. Is it true? Did you approach me on purpose? Naomi's throat tightened. Yes. The word hung between them like a death sentence. Si-woo's face crumpled, then hardened. Were we ever real? Any of it? It became real, Naomi whispered, switching to English. I swear to God, Si-woo, it became real. I didn't know I would. Enough, Jae-hyuk cut in. Si-woo, leave. This is family business. She just said my father destroyed her mother. Si-woo's voice cracked with fury. That sounds like it involves me. Jae-hyuk's expression turned glacial. Your mother and I will discuss this at home. For now, you will leave, or you will watch what happens when people threaten this family. Choose. The ultimatum hung in the air like a blade. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us bring you more dramatic content like this. Also, smash that like button and drop a comment letting me know what you think will happen next. Don't let the next chapter be a mystery. Subscribe now for more Mafia romance drama and twists. Si-woo looked at his father, then at Naomi, then back at his father. His hands clenched into fists at his sides. You're not who I thought you were. No, Jae-hyuk said coldly. I'm exactly who you refused to see. Now get out. For a moment, Naomi thought Si-woo might stay. Might fight. Might choose her over the man who'd raised him, but he took one step backward, then another, his eyes never leaving hers. I'm sorry, he whispered. Then he turned and walked out. The door clicked shut with a finality that shattered something in Naomi's chest. She'd known this moment would come. She'd prepared for it. But preparation didn't stop it from feeling like a knife between her ribs. Now, Jae-hyuk said, settling back into his chair, let's discuss what happens next. You have information I want. I have resources you fear. This can end quickly, or it can end slowly. Your choice. Naomi forced herself to focus. Si-woo was gone, her heart was broken. But her grandmother was still alive, still in danger, and this monster was still planning to burn her restaurant to the ground. I have copies, she said in Korean, voice steadier than she felt. Everything my mother documented. 15 years of transactions. Names. dates, bank accounts, photos. If I don't check in with my contact every 12 hours, it all goes to the prosecutors. And to the press. And to your business partners who think you're legitimate. Jae-hyuk studied her for a long moment. You're bluffing. Try me. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Even if you're telling the truth, you've made a critical error. You've shown your hand too early. You've revealed yourself. And now I know exactly where to apply pressure. He leaned forward. Your grandmother's restaurant. Your aunt's boutique. Your cousin's barbershop. Your friends from university. That Hapkido instructor you train with every Tuesday and Thursday. Should I continue? Ice flooded Naomi's veins. He'd been watching her. For how long? You heard any of them, and the files go public immediately, she said. Then you'd better hope your 12-hour check-ins are very reliable, Jae-hyuk replied. Because accidents happen. Gas leaks. Car crashes. Sudden illnesses. And prosecutors can be bought. Press can be silenced. But family? He smiled. Family bleeds. The man with the Patek Philippe moved closer, pulling out his phone. Boss, I can have teams at all the Itaewon locations within the hour. No, Jae-hyuk said thoughtfully. That's too obvious. She's expecting that. His eyes gleamed with malicious intelligence. We need to be more creative. More personal. He stood and walked to where Naomi was still frozen, her body coiled tight as a spring, ready to fight or flee. He stopped just inches from her, close enough that she could smell his expensive cologne. Here's what's going to happen, he said softly in Korean. You're going to give me those files. All of them. Every copy, every backup, every hiding place. And in exchange, I'll let your family live. I'll even let you live, though you'll wish I hadn't. And if I refuse? Then I'll kill everyone you love, Jae-hyuk said simply. But not quickly, not mercifully. I'll make you watch as I dismantle their lives piece by piece. Your grandmother first. Then your aunt. Then your cousin. And after they're all gone, after you've lost everything, then I'll kill you. But by then, you'll be begging for it. Naomi's mind raced. She needed time. Needed to get out of this room, regroup, figure out her next move. But Jae-hyuk's men were closing in, forming a tighter circle around her. I need 48 hours, she said desperately. The files are stored in multiple secure locations. I need time to retrieve them all. You have 24 hours, Jae-hyuk countered. And to ensure your cooperation, you'll give me something right now. A show of good faith. Like what? The name of your contact. The person who gets the files if you don't check in. Naomi's blood ran cold. There was no contact. She'd been bluffing about the automated system. The files existed, her mother had been thorough, but they were hidden in a single location, a safety deposit box her mother had opened 15 years ago under a false name. If Jae-hyuk found out there was no dead man's switch, no backup plan, she'd lose her only leverage. No, she said. Jae-hyuk's expression didn't change, but something dark flickered in his eyes. Hyunsuk, the man with the Patek Philippe stepped forward, pulling a knife from his jacket. Not a gun. A knife. Personal. Painful. Last chance, Jae-hyuk said. Naomi's Hapkido training kicked in. She spun, driving her elbow into Hyunsuk's throat. He staggered backward, choking. She grabbed a soju bottle from the table and smashed it against the marble, creating a jagged weapon. The other men rushed her, but she was already moving, using the table as a barrier, her improvised blade slashing at any hand that came too close. Alive! Jae-hyuk shouted. I need her alive. That hesitation was all Naomi needed. She vaulted over the table, kicked the youngest associate in the knee, heard it crack, and sprinted for the door. Her fingers closed around the handle just as something slammed into her from behind. She crashed to the floor, the broken bottle skittering away. Heavy weight pressed down on her back. Hands grabbed her arms, wrenching them behind her. Stubborn, Jae-hyuk observed, walking over to stand above her. Your mother was stubborn too. It didn't save her. My mother escaped you, Naomi gasped, face pressed against cold marble. She lived 15 more years. I had a life. Had me. You think you won, but she beat you every single day she stayed alive. Something in Jae-hyuk's expression shifted. Genuine anger now, not the calculated kind. Take her to the wine cellar. I'll handle this myself. They dragged her up, and Naomi thrashed, using every technique she knew, but there were too many hands, too much weight. They hauled her down a corridor, past the kitchen where other staff were too busy to notice, down a flight of stairs into the restaurant's basement. The wine cellar was everything she'd feared, soundproof, private, lined with expensive bottles that had probably witnessed similar scenes before. They threw her into a chair and zip-tied her wrists to the armrests. One of them checked the restraints twice, professional, thoroughly. Jae-hyuk descended the stairs slowly, deliberately. He'd taken off his suit jacket, rolled up his sleeves. This was going to be hands-on. Before we begin, he said conversationally, I want you to understand something. Your mother didn't escape me. I let her go. Naomi's head snapped up. Liar. It's true, Jae-hyuk continued, selecting a wine opener from a drawer and testing its sharp point against his thumb. She was pregnant. I found out 2 weeks before she disappeared. The child wasn't mine, I'd been careful about that. But I was curious. Wanted to see if she'd keep it. If she'd raise it. If she'd tell the child about me. He smiled. So I let her run. Let her think she'd outsmarted me. And I waited. You're insane. I'm patient, Jae-hyuk corrected. And now, here you are. Her daughter. All grown up. Carrying her stubbornness and her stupidity. He crouched in front of Naomi's chair, bringing them eye to eye. She didn't beat me. She gave me exactly what I wanted, leverage. A daughter who'd come looking for revenge. A daughter I could use to tie up all the loose ends your mother left behind. If you knew I'd come, why didn't you just kill me? Because I wanted to see what you knew. What she'd told you, what evidence she'd actually managed to hide. He touched the wine opener to Naomi's cheek, not cutting, just pressure. And because I wanted to see my son fall in love with you. Wanted to see if he'd choose family or a woman. You know what? He chose a family. Just like I taught him. The words hit harder than any physical blow. Because they were true. Si-woo had walked away. Now, Jae-hyuk said, we're going to have a very simple conversation. You're going to tell me where the files are, and if you lie to me, if you waste my time, I'm going to call my men and have them visit your grandmother. Tonight. While she's closing up her restaurant. And I'll make you listen on speakerphone while they work. Naomi's resolve cracked. Not for herself. She could endure pain. But her grandmother, 73 years old, arthritic hands, heart problems, she couldn't protect herself. There's a safety deposit box, Naomi whispered. Hana Bank. Itaewon Branch. Box number 847. The key is in my apartment, hidden inside a cookbook. Masala cooking, third shelf from the bottom. Jae-hyuk studied her face. You gave that up very quickly. You threatened my grandmother. That's not why, Jae-hyuk said thoughtfully. You gave up because you have a backup plan, something you're not telling me. He stood, pulling out his phone. Hyunsik, send a team to her apartment. Find the key. And send another team to the bank. I want that box open tonight. Yes, I know it's after hours. Bribe whoever you need to bribe. He ended the call and looked down at Naomi. Now we wait. If you're lying, your grandmother dies. If you're telling the truth but there's something else you're hiding, your grandmother dies. Your cooperation better be complete and honest, or this will be a very short conversation. 30 minutes crawled by. Naomi's wrists ached from the zip ties. Her cheek throbbed where Jae-hyuk had pressed the wine opener. But mostly, her mind raced through scenarios, contingencies, desperate plans that all ended the same way, with her family dead and Jae-hyuk walking away clean. Jae-hyuk's phone rang. Yes? He listened for a moment. Good. Open it. Tell me what's inside. Another pause. His expression darkened. Are you certain? Longer pause. I see. He ended the call and turned to Naomi with a smile that made her blood freeze. Clever girl, he said. The box is empty, just a note that says, if you're reading this, you've already lost. Your mother's handwriting, according to the date on it. 15 years old. Naomi's heart sank. She'd been counting on those files existing, on having something to bargain with. But her mother had been too paranoid, too careful. She'd moved the evidence somewhere even Naomi couldn't find it. So we're back where we started, Jae-hyuk said. Except now I know you were telling the truth about the box, which means you genuinely don't know where the real files are. Which makes you useless to me. Wait. However, Jae-hyuk continued, you're still useful in other ways. My son cares about you, even if he walked away. That gives you leverage. And your grandmother, your family, they're all pressure points I can use if I ever need to control you in the future. He signaled to his men. Take her to the port. Container 47. She'll stay there until I decide what to do with her. 2 men moved forward to grab her. The wine cellar door exploded inward. Si-woo stood in the doorway, and he wasn't alone. Behind him were 5 men in tactical gear, weapons drawn, faces obscured by masks, and beside Si-woo, looking grim and determined, was an older woman Naomi recognized from her mother's old photos. Detective Park Min-young. Seoul Metropolitan Police. Organized Crime Unit. Yoon Jae-hyuk, Detective Park announced in Korean, you're under arrest for kidnapping, conspiracy to commit murder, and about 40 other charges we've been building for 3 years. Jae-hyuk didn't move. Didn't panic. He simply looked at his son with an expression of profound disappointment. You called the police. On your own father. You were going to kill her, Si-woo said, his voice shaking. I heard you on the phone. I heard everything. I was protecting our family. You were protecting yourself. Si-woo shouted. From crimes you actually committed. From people you actually hurt. This isn't protection, father. This is just violence covering up more violence. Jae-hyuk's men reached for their weapons, but the tactical team was faster. Within seconds, all 4 associates were on the ground, hands zip-tied behind their backs, being read their rights in rapid Korean. Detective Park approached Naomi's chair and cut her restraints with a pocket knife. Miss Adeyemi, are you hurt? I'm fine, Naomi said, though her hands were shaking as she rubbed feeling back into her wrists. How did you? Your mother contacted me 15 years ago, Park said quietly. She gave me some files. Not everything, but enough to start building a case. I've been waiting for the right moment, the right leverage. When Si-woo called me 30 minutes ago and told me what was happening, I knew we had our chance. Naomi looked at Si-woo, who stood apart from everyone, his face a mask of controlled devastation. He'd betrayed his father. Destroyed his family. All to save her. Si-woo, she started. Don't, he said softly. Just, don't. Not right now. Detective Park was reading Jae-hyuk his rights, but the crime boss wasn't paying attention. His eyes were locked on his son, filled with something that might have been pride or might have been contempt. It was impossible to tell. You've destroyed everything I built, Jae-hyuk said to Si-woo. Everything I worked for. Everything I was going to leave you. You built it on blood, Si-woo replied. I don't want it. You'll regret this. When the lawyers are done, when the appeals are filed, when I walk free, and I will walk free, you'll regret choosing her over your own father. Maybe, Si-woo said. But at least I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror. They led Jae-hyuk away in handcuffs. His associates followed, heads down, already calculating their defense strategies. Detective Park stayed behind to take preliminary statements, her team photographing the wine cellar, documenting evidence. Naomi and Si-woo stood at opposite ends of the room, an ocean of betrayal and broken trust between them. "You didn't have to do that," Naomi finally said. "Yes, I did. He's your father. And he was going to kill you," Si-woo said, his voice breaking on the last word. "He was going to kill you, and your grandmother, and everyone you love. What was I supposed to do? Stand there and watch? You could have walked away. Pretended you didn't hear. Save yourself." "I tried that," Si-woo said. "I got halfway down the street before I realized I couldn't do it. Couldn't just let you die. Even if you'd been using me. Even if none of it was real." "It was real," Naomi said desperately, moving toward him. "Si-woo, I swear, it started as a plan, but it became real. You became real. Us became real." He held up a hand, stopping her. "How am I supposed to believe that? How am I supposed to trust anything you say when our entire relationship was built on a lie?" "The same way I'm supposed to trust you," Naomi shot back. "You're his son. His blood. For all I know, you could be just like him. I just destroyed my entire family to save you." Si-woo shouted. "What more proof do you need? And I was willing to die to protect mine." Naomi shouted back. "We're both liars, Si-woo. We both kept secrets. The only difference is my secrets were about survival, and yours were about shame." The words hit like a slap. Si-woo's face crumpled, and for a moment, he looked exactly like the gentle photographer she'd fallen in love with, vulnerable, human, breaking. "I didn't know," he whispered. "I swear to God, Naomi, I didn't know what he was. I thought he was just a businessman. Boring. Obsessed with money. I hated him for never being around, for always prioritizing work over family, but I never imagined," his voice broke. "He killed people. He hurt people. And I lived in his house, ate his food, spent his money, all while people were dying." "You didn't know," Naomi said softly. "That's not your fault. Isn't it?" Si-woo's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I should have seen it. Should have asked questions. Should have wondered why he had armed guards and secret meetings and wouldn't tell me anything about his business. But I didn't want to know. It was easier to just be ignorant, to just take his money and pursue my art and pretend I came from a normal family." He sank into one of the wine cellar chairs, head in his hands. "My entire life is a lie. Everything I thought I knew about my father, about my family, about where I come from, it's all built on blood, money and violence." Naomi approached slowly, carefully, like she was approaching a wounded animal. She knelt in front of him, her hands hovering near his knees but not touching, not sure if she had the right anymore. "My mother always told me," she said quietly, "that we're not responsible for the sins of our parents. We're only responsible for what we do with the knowledge once we have it. You had the knowledge tonight. And you chose to do the right thing." "Chose you," Si-woo corrected, looking up at her with red-rimmed eyes. "I don't know if that's the same as choosing right." "Why?" Naomi asked. "Why did you choose me? After everything I did, all the lies I told, why didn't you just let your father handle it?" Si-woo was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Because when I was standing in that hallway, listening to him plan your torture, I realized something. I realized that for the first time in my life, I cared about someone more than I cared about being comfortable, more than I cared about my family name or my inheritance or my father's approval. I cared about you. Even knowing you'd lied. Even knowing you'd used me. I still cared enough to burn my whole life down to keep you safe." He reached out and gently took her hand. "That's how I know what we had was real. Because if it wasn't, I wouldn't have done this. I would have walked away. Self-preservation is easy. Love is what makes you do impossible, terrifying things." Naomi's vision blurred with tears. "I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I lied to you. I'm sorry I put you in this position. I'm sorry. Stop, Si-woo said, pulling her up and into his arms. Just stop. We can sort through the apologies and the trust issues and all of it later. Right now, I just need to hold you and know that you're alive and safe. She buried her face in his chest, breathing in the familiar scent of his cologne and camera equipment and Seoul autumn wind. His arms tightened around her, and for the first time in hours, maybe in months, Naomi let herself believe that things might actually be okay. Detective Park cleared her throat diplomatically from the doorway. I hate to interrupt, but I need to take formal statements from both of you. And Miss Adeyemi, we'll need your help locating any other evidence your mother might have hidden. Naomi pulled back reluctantly, wiping her eyes. I don't know where it is. She never told me the actual location. That's fine, Park said. We have enough to hold Jae-hyuk and his associates while we build the full case. Your mother's original files were quite comprehensive. She was a remarkable woman. She was, Naomi agreed softly. There's one more thing, Park added. We found something in Jae-hyuk's office during the search. A letter. It's addressed to you. Your mother apparently sent it to him years ago with instructions to deliver it if you ever came looking. He never did, of course. She handed Naomi an envelope, yellowed with age, her mother's handwriting across the front, to my daughter, if she's foolish enough to seek revenge. Naomi's hand shook as she opened it. My beautiful Naomi, if you're reading this, it means I'm dead and you've done exactly what I was afraid you'd do. You've come to Seoul looking for Yoon Jae-hyuk. You've probably put yourself in terrible danger. You've probably complicated your life in ways you can't even imagine yet. I'm proud of you. I know that sounds strange, but it's true. You could have stayed safe in Lagos, lived a quiet life, let my past stay buried. But you didn't. You came looking for justice, or truth, or maybe just closure. That takes courage. That takes the kind of stubborn determination that runs in our blood. I have so many things I wish I could tell you. About Jae-hyuk, about Korea, about the mistakes I made and the people I loved. But there's only one thing that really matters, revenge is empty. Justice is necessary. But love is what survives when everything else burns down. If you found someone to love in Seoul, someone who sees past the anger and the pain to the woman you really are, don't let them go. Don't let my vendetta cost you your happiness. Don't make my mistakes. I spent 15 years running from Jae-hyuk, but I also spent 15 years running toward the life I built with you. And you, my darling daughter, were worth every moment of fear, every sleepless night, every time I looked over my shoulder. Be careful. Be brave. Be loved. And if you ever find the evidence I hid, and you're clever, so you might, use it wisely. Not for revenge. For justice. All my love, Mama. P.S. The safety deposit box is a decoy. The real files are where I always kept my most precious things, in the place that reminds me of home. You'll know it when you see it. Naomi read the letter twice, then a third time, her mother's voice echoing in her head. Then suddenly, she understood. The restaurant, she whispered. Eco Kitchen. My grandmother's restaurant. Si-woo looked at her. What about it? My mother said the files are where she kept her most precious things, in the place that reminds her of home. The restaurant was the first place she took me when we visited Seoul, before everything went wrong with Jae-hyuk. She loved that restaurant. It reminded her of Lagos, of family, of everything good about both her homes. Detective Park was already pulling out her phone. I'll send a team there now. Wait, Naomi said. Let me go with you. If the files are hidden, my grandmother will know where. And she deserves to know what's happening. To understand why my mother spent 15 years running. We're at the halfway point of this intense story, and things are about to get even more dramatic. If you're invested in Naomi and Si-woo's journey, please subscribe and hit that like button. It really helps us create more content like this, and remember, subscribing is completely free. Drop a comment and let me know, do you think they can rebuild their trust? Don't let the next chapter be a mystery. Subscribe now for more Mafia romance drama and twists. They arrived at Eco Kitchen 40 minutes later, just as Naomi's grandmother was preparing to close for the night. The elderly woman took one look at Naomi's face, at Si-woo hovering protectively behind her, at Detective Park and her team, and immediately understood that something life-changing had occurred. "Come in," she said in Yoruba-accented English. "Sit. Tell me everything." So they did. The whole story spilled out: Jae-hyuk's crimes, her mother's secret work as an informant, the hidden evidence, the kidnapping, the arrest, all of it. Her grandmother listened without interrupting, her weathered hands folded calmly in her lap, though her eyes grew brighter with unshed tears as Naomi described her mother's final words. When Naomi finished, her grandmother was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood, walked to the back of the restaurant's kitchen, and pulled down a heavy cookbook from the highest shelf. It was written in Yoruba, traditional recipes passed down through generations. She opened it to the middle, where the pages had been hollowed out. Inside was a USB drive. "Your mother gave this to me 20 years ago, her grandmother said. Made me promise never to open it. Never to ask questions. Just to keep it safe until either she came back for it, or you did." She handed the drive to Naomi. "I think she always knew you'd come looking." Detective Park took the drive carefully, like it was made of glass. "This could be the final piece we need to dismantle not just Jae-hyuk's operation, but the entire network he was part of." "Thank you." Naomi's grandmother waved her hand dismissively. "Thank your mother, she was the brave one." She turned to Si-woo, studying him with sharp, assessing eyes. "And you? You're the son?" "Yes, ma'am," Si-woo said, meeting her gaze steadily despite the discomfort. "You love my granddaughter?" "I do." "Even though she lied to you?" "Even though." "And you," she turned to Naomi, "you love him? Even though he's the son of the man who hunted your mother?" "I do," Naomi whispered. Her grandmother nodded slowly. "Then you're both fools. But love makes fools of us all." She smiled, the expression transforming her weathered face. "Your mother would have liked him. She always had a weakness for men who were willing to burn the world down for the women they loved." Over the next 3 months, Jae-hyuk's empire collapsed. The USB drive contained 15 years of meticulously documented evidence, transactions, photographs, recorded conversations, witness statements. Combined with Detective Park's investigation and testimony from several of Jae-hyuk's former associates who turned state's evidence, the prosecution's case was airtight. Yoon Jae-hyuk was sentenced to 35 years in prison. His business assets were seized and liquidated, the proceeds distributed to victims and their families. The Kang family partnership dissolved. Dozens of other crime figures connected to the network were also arrested and prosecuted. Si-woo moved out of his family home the day after his father's arrest. He found a small studio apartment in Itaewon, near Naomi's grandmother's restaurant, and started rebuilding his life from scratch. It wasn't easy, the media attention was intense, job opportunities dried up once people learned his last name, and he faced constant judgment from people who assumed he must be complicit in his father's crimes. But he persisted. He started teaching photography to kids in Itaewon, many of them from immigrant families, giving them the tools to tell their own stories. Slowly, painfully, he built a new identity separate from his father's legacy. Naomi stayed in Seoul. She'd come for revenge, but she'd found something more complicated: justice, yes, but also love, and family, and a sense of belonging she hadn't expected. She took a job at her grandmother's restaurant, learning to cook traditional Nigerian dishes alongside Korean favorites, blending her dual heritage in ways her mother never got the chance to. Their relationship was complicated. Trust had to be rebuilt brick by brick. There were hard conversations about lies and betrayal and the ways they'd both used each other before they'd loved each other. Some days were easier than others, but they kept choosing each other. Every morning. Every argument. Every moment of doubt. 6 months after Jae-hyuk's sentencing, on a cold December evening, Si-woo met Naomi at the Hangang Bridge where they'd had their first kiss. The Seoul skyline glittered behind them, reflecting off the water in fractured light. I have something for you, he said, pulling a small box from his jacket. Naomi's heart stopped. Si-woo. It's not what you think, he said quickly, opening the box. Inside were 2 diamond earrings, simple, elegant, nearly identical to the one Naomi's mother had owned. Your mother's earring is evidence. It's locked up in a police storage facility. But I wanted you to have something to remember her by. Something that wasn't about Jae-hyuk or revenge or any of the darkness. Just, something beautiful. Naomi took the earrings with shaking hands. They're perfect. There's something else, Si-woo said. I know we're not ready yet. Maybe we won't be ready for years. But I want you to know, when we are ready, when we've done the work and rebuilt the trust and figured out how to be together without all the lies and secrets, I'm going to ask you to marry me. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving that love doesn't have to be built on deception. That it can be built on choice. On showing up. On doing the hard work even when it's easier to walk away. Tears streamed down Naomi's face. Why are you telling me this now? Because I need you to know I'm not going anywhere, Si-woo said simply. I'm not my father. I don't make promises I don't keep. I don't love conditionally. When I commit to something, to someone, it's forever. And I'm committing to you. To us. To whatever complicated, messy, beautiful thing we're building together. Naomi kissed him then, there on the bridge where they'd first pretended to be something they weren't, where lies had tasted like truth and truth had felt like lies. But this kiss was different. It was real. It was earned. It was the beginning of something that neither of them had planned but both of them chose. When they finally pulled apart, Naomi rested her forehead against his and whispered the 3 words she'd been too afraid to say until now. I love you too. The Seoul wind carried her words across the water, mixing them with the sound of traffic and distant laughter and all the noise of a city that had witnessed too much pain but still made room for hope. Behind them, unseen, a light flickered in the window of Eco Kitchen, where Naomi's grandmother was closing up for the night, satisfied that her granddaughter had finally found what her mother had been searching for all along. Not revenge. Not justice. Just love. Simple, complicated, impossible, necessary love. And in a prison cell across the city, Yoon Jae-hyuk sat alone with his thoughts, finally understanding what he'd lost when he'd chosen power over people, control over connection, fear over family. His son was gone. His empire was dust. His legacy was ash. All he had left were regrets and the knowledge that the woman he'd tried to destroy, Chin-yu, the stubborn Nigerian girl who'd refused to be broken, had won after all. Not through revenge. Not through violence. But through the simple, radical act of raising a daughter who chose love even in the face of hate. And that, Jae-hyuk realized too late, was the most devastating victory of all. If you made it to the end of this emotional roller coaster, thank you so much for watching. This story shows that love can survive even the darkest circumstances when people choose to fight for each other. If you enjoyed Naomi and Si-woo's journey, please hit that subscribe button. It's completely free and helps us bring you more dramatic stories like this. Also, smash that like button and drop a comment below. Don't let the next chapter be a mystery. Subscribe now for more Mafia romance drama and twists. And before you go, let me know where you are watching this from in the comments below. I love hearing from viewers all around the world. See you in the next story.